Grab Room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here today on the program. Week 7 recap, breaking down the matchup between the San Francisco 49ers coming into this game at 4-2, taking on the Tennessee Titans. Welcome back, Jake Locker, coming into this game at 3-3. It's been a rough road for this Tennessee Titans team after Locker has exited the lineup. He left this team in great shape. Went down with an injury versus the Jets. They were 3-1, riding high, had not turned the football over yet on the season to that point. Since then, look, Ryan Fitzpatrick has done what he has done throughout his career, turned the football over. Hence, the Jets have dropped 2 consecutive football games. And again, tough opponents. You're talking about 5-1, or is it 6-1? It's 6-1 Seattle, and you're talking about 7-0 Kansas City. I mean, 2 tough opponents. Games that could have been won, if you ask me, if Jake Locker is in the lineup. Who knows? That's hindsight. That's over with. He's back now. Let's break down the game that occurred on Sunday afternoon between the Tennessee Titans and the San Francisco 49ers. So, Locker looks good and looks solid early on. Seems to be picking up right where he left off. Early in this game, I thought that first possession, he was sharp. It didn't amount to any points, but I felt like he looked in rhythm. I thought he'd come back and be somewhat sluggish. The timing might be a little off, and some of his passes might lack, crispness and what may have you, but the passes were crisp. He seemed to be in rhythm with his receivers. Had a couple of nice completions, couple of nice tosses early on in the game. One in particular to Kendall Wright on an out route. Kendall plucks it out of the air, gets up the field. This drive looked promising. It stalls out. They have to punt the football. 49ers move the football down the field methodically, settle for a field goal. It was a long drive, a lot of runs, a lot of short passes. But at the end of the day, they could not get it in the end zone. And I expected this Tennessee Titans team to put up resistance against this San Francisco 49ers offense. And I expected this to be more like that Kansas City Chiefs game with the Tennessee Titans. Low scoring, 17-13 type of ball game when it was all said and done. Somewhere around there. I think that game ended up being 26-17, something like that. 26-19, something around that. I thought that's where this game would end up. A lot of defense from both teams. I expected this to be a fairly low-scoring game. Let's see what happens as this game unfolds. Personal foul, low-hit penalty on Zach Brown. To me, this was the game-changing play in this football game. Personal foul, low-hit penalty on Zach Brown negates an interception by Bernard Pollard, which leads to a Kaepernick touchdown run on Quan Drive. And I call it Quan Drive because Anquan Bolden on this drive was phenomenal. First, he has a sensational diving grab that's about 30-something yards that really gets this drive kick-started. And then he has a 6-yard one-handed snag on the sidelines, has to get his feet in, and he caught it with one hand. It was a phenomenal catch. And those plays got them down the field. Then you have the interception by Bernard Pollard. Looks like all of that is going to be for naught. But then you have the personal foul, low-hit penalty on Zach Brown. Negates the interception. About 3 plays later, Kaepernick is running into the end zone. It's 10-0. Instead of wiping that touchdown off the board and having the Titans going the other way, you have a penalty that negates the interception and gives the 49ers a second chance. They take that chance, run with it. It's 10-0. So, to me, that was the game-changing play of this game. You take those points off the board, it's a different football game. Who knows what happens from that point on, but you take that interception away, give the 49ers back the football, it's a 10-0 football game. Until he throws this interception. And I said Locker looked solid in this game. He seems to be picking up right where he left off. Keep in mind, when he got injured, no turnovers for Jake Locker on the season. No turnovers for this Tennessee Titans football team on the season until he throws that interception to Tremaine Brock late in the second quarter, leading to a Frank Gore 1-yard touchdown run. It's 17-0. He was sharp until that pass. It's a double move, and he throws it up, and Tremaine Brock was not fooled on the double move. He was all over it, picks it off, And a really good return by Tremaine Brock. He made a couple of moves, got some field position for the 49ers. They cashed it in with the 1-yard Frank Gore touchdown, 17-0. This is not what I expected in this game. I didn't expect the 49ers to be able to run away with this football game on the road against a team that plays good defense. But you turn the football over, you give the other team short fields, you take away a pick of your own, you make mistakes that good teams don't make. This is what happens when you're playing a good team. I'll give you a little backstory before I move on. A viewer of my show, BRT, is a guy that always is messaging me, and he's always viewing the show, and he always gives me feedback. Huge Titans fan, loves his Titans. He's at the games a lot. He always talks about how the feel is and the aura is at the stadium. And so I love talking to him because he gives me feedback that I can't get anywhere else on Tennessee Titans football. And he was excited about the return of Jake Locker. And because I had picked the 49ers, he made it his business to tell me that, hey, Locker is playing in this game. Because I knew he was practicing, and I had talked about that, but I didn't think he was going to play. I didn't know how healthy he was, and I thought that the Titans were going to take this time to allow him to heal up some more because you got the bye coming up next week. And after that, he'd be back. That's what I thought. But I guess he was healthy enough. He looked good. He was running around. His arm looked lively. I didn't see any reason not to play him in this game. But he went out of his way to tell me that Jake Locker was starting and that he thought the Titans would win this game. And I said, hey, I think Jake Locker is playing fabulous football this year, but this isn't the game you want to come back for. You know, the 49ers, this is a defense that is borderline dominant in this league. And if you're going to come back in a game, this isn't the one that I expect him to come back in and play the type of football that he was playing before the injury. This isn't a team that is just going to allow you to come back off of a 3-week hiatus and just show up and carve them up. This isn't that team. And so even though Locker was slated to play, that didn't change my mind one bit. I didn't see the Titans winning this game because this is a good 49ers defense. Now, I thought the Titans were going to play defense in this game and really force the issue and give the 49ers some fits and make this game a lot closer than what it was. But at 17-0, I was like, wow, 49ers really dominating the football game, and I did not see that coming. So, first drive of the second half is an impressive one for the 49ers. Cap is sharp. He hits Davis. He hits Bolden. He's using his legs. And then Gore finishes it off with a run into the end zone. It's 24-0. And I mean, again, I did not see this coming. I was blindsided by a blowout. Again, I expected the 49ers to win. I did not expect them to run away with this football game. So, big grab by Nate Washington allows the Titans to get on the scoreboard, but it's only a field goal at 24-3. And you thought maybe, just maybe, it's still some time left in this football game. If they can get a couple of stops, maybe force a turnover, they can get back in this football game. The Titans, the crazy part about this is in the first half, they were moving the football. They just weren't finishing off drives. They get a couple of first downs, maybe 3 or 4 first downs, get to around midfield, and then the drive would stall out, or they'd get a couple of first downs, have a penalty here or there, push them back, or Locker would get sacked, and it would just destroy a drive. And so they were moving the football a little bit. Maybe in the second half they could start putting some things together, score some points. Chris Johnson's 66-yard screenplay goes for a touchdown. It's now 24-10, so here we are. Only 2-score possession now. And so Titans trying to work their way back in. This is what I'm talking about, though, with the Titans. This is what really frustrates me with the Titans and why I really don't understand what they're doing, because here we are, one of the most explosive, if not the most explosive back in the league in Chris Johnson, yet you can't get the running game off the ground. Okay, fine. Find this guy, and I say this every week. I sound like a broken record. Find this guy. Find this man. CJ2K, find this guy some space to operate with. Please create space. This screen, perfect example. Get him out of space. That's where he's his most dynamic. That's where he's his most dangerous, because there's not another guy on the field at the same time that Chris Johnson is on the field that can match his speed. I don't care who you're playing against. You're not going to find a defender on the field with the kind of speed that Chris Johnson possesses. And he's got moves to boot. So if he gets out of space, he doesn't have a problem making a guy miss and going off to the races. Who's catching this guy from behind? So get him in space. I don't care if you got to run a wide receiver screen. I don't care if it's an end around. I don't care if you've got to run drag routes and get him. Oh, get this guy out of space. Find creative ways to get Chris Johnson the football. Here's one 66-yard touchdown, get you back in the football game. So now I'm asking the Titans. I said, hey, this thing isn't over. It's about 8 or 9 minutes left in this game. Get a stop. Get a stop. Force a punt. See if you can get in the end zone. All of a sudden, the 49ers will get tight. This game that was once 24-0, all of a sudden now is 24-17. They get a little tight. They start pressing. Maybe they make a mistake, and you get back in this football game. It can happen. You snuck the San Diego Chargers early in the season in a game similar to this where they were winning. They had this game, and you came and you stole it from them at the end. Why not do it here? This is why not. Darius Raynaud seals the Titans' fate with a muff punt. It gets kicked into the end zone. 49ers recover it in the end zone, 31-10. Everyone go ahead and go home, drive safely. That's it. For me, that was the ball game. And it's unfortunate because Darius Raynaud, for all of the good plays that he has, and right after this, he breaks off a nice little return. But for all of the good plays, you get plays like this with him. Remember the safety in Pittsburgh? I mean, for all of the good plays, there's some of these dunce cap plays where you're just like, come on, Darius, what are you doing, man? And so that was disappointing because the Titans were starting to build some momentum. They forced the stop that they needed. They're getting the football back. And then you have that. Now the game's over. You're done. Game, set, match. So Titans tack on a late touchdown, but at this point, it's irrelevant. 49ers get the victory 31-17. They're now 5-2 on the season. They're back to playing 49ers football. They're grinding teams out. They're playing defense. They're getting to the opposing team's quarterback. They're running the football with Frank Gore. Frank Gore reminded me in this game, and I think people underrate Frank Gore. I don't think he gets enough credit for all of the things. He's one of the most versatile backs in the National Football League. You won't find a back that is more versatile than Frank Gore in the National Football League. And I think we underrate him and his skills sometimes because he just goes about his business so human-like that you can skip over Frank Gore when you start reeling off the top backs in the league. But I challenge you to not do that because in this game, what Frank Gore reminded me that he can do, that a lot of backs can, he can catch the football. And sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle. Frank Gore catches the football just as well as Matt Forte and Arian Foster and some of these other guys out of the backfield. He can catch the football. I saw this guy in this game catching the football. He had the presence of mind to try to keep his foot in bounds even though he was on the chalk. He's a really savvy football player that can run, that can block, that can catch. He can do it all. And when he's all done, I think he's going to end up being a Hall of Fame player. I really believe that. But 49ers get it done. 31-17. They're 5-2. They're playing exceptional football. They're going to challenge the Seattle Seahawks for that division. They're playing really good football right now. Meanwhile, the Titans are reeling 3 consecutive losses after starting the season 3-1. Again, you can blame it on the Locker injury if you like, but at this point, he's back now. Now you got to try to turn this season around. You got a bye week, which is well needed. 3 straight losses send you into this bye. You need to fix some things. Come back after this bye like gangbusters. Get this thing back on track. Your first goal should be to get back to 500. Once you get back to 500, then you can start trying to make power moves in the AFC South division. But right now, your primary goal should be, hey, let's get back to 500 and start playing winning football again. So that's the breakdown for this football game. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Thank you for joining me. See you back here shortly. I've got more games in Week 7 to break down.